Greetings, everyone. Welcome to HomeFree-USA. We are so happy to have you all here with us today. My name is Marcia Griffin. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Outreach with HomeFree-USA. And again, it is a pleasure to have you on today's session. Say goodbye to rising rent. This is an opportunity for all of us on the line to say goodbye to our landlords, hello to homeownership, and to really use this opportunity as a time to move up the financial ladder. So as we begin, we're just going to do a really short introduction, and we want you all to know that you're in good hands with HomeFree-USA. So I'm going to turn it over to Shakira, play our warm welcoming video, our opening video, and then we're going to go ahead and get started.
It never hurts to have someone else have your back. And so that's what HomeFree had for me. They had my back. I went in as a single individual. And so as a single individual, it was nice to have someone else vetting things, looking over things, making sure I was in the right direction and not being taken advantage of or anything of that nature. Owning a home is a lot of work, but the reward in the long run pays off.
Milan, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I'm all talking on mute. So again, welcome again. I hope you all enjoyed the video. My name is Marcia Griffin. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Outreach. And as you've seen, HomeFree-USA, we are nonprofit homeownership advisors. We are not mortgage lenders. We are not realtors. We are homeownership advisors. We're your partners helping renters move from renting to owning a home and helping you all to avoid costly mistakes so you can make the right decisions. Again, welcome. We're so happy to have you. We have a phenomenal guest speaker today, Marcia Griffin, from the founder, creator, leader of Be Free, a powerhouse. And, of course, we have our very own Marcia Griffin, founder and president of HomeFree-USA. So before we bring on our panelists, I do want to hear from you. I want to see who's on the line. Shakira, why don't you go ahead and launch our polls so we can see who is here, who's on the line today. So everyone on the phone, again, let us know, are you a home buyer? Are you a homeowner? Go ahead and take a second and just complete the poll. Are you a home buyer, homeowner, renter, realtor, mortgage lender, one of our HomeFree-USA affiliates, or none of the above? So if you could take a second and just complete the poll that we have so we can see who is on the line. Who is on the line? All right. Hopefully we're getting some responses then. And again, for everybody who's here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have an excellent day when we talk about rising rent and why it's time to say goodbye to your landlord and hello to homeownership. So let's just go ahead and close that poll. Okay, great. And then let's move on to the second poll, Shakira. I want to know who is on the line, who heard about us, and I should say, how did you hear about this session? So go ahead and launch the second poll, Shakira. Thank you. Okay, so how did you hear about this webinar? Was it through Facebook? Was it through Instagram, LinkedIn, HomeFree-USA, email, word of mouth? Tell us, how did you hear about this session today? However you found us, we're happy that you did, and it's a pleasure that you joined us. So how did you hear about the webinar today? Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Continue to just place your poll and let us know how you heard about the webinar today. And again, it's just such a pleasure to have everyone on the phone. I mean, we're going to have an awesome session with our guest speaker, Marcia Griffin, and talking to you about things you need to know to move from renting to owning. So we can go ahead and close that poll, Shakira. I'm excited to see your results and to see how everybody heard about us. And so, as we get started and as we move forward again and again and again, I welcome you to today's session. I want to give a special and warm introduction to a lady that I know very well, my mother and my boss, Marcia Griffin. Marcia Griffin is the founder and president of HomeFree-USA. And just a fun fact and interesting story, Marcia Griffin, my mother, and my father, Jim Griffin, they came together 25 years ago to develop HomeFree-USA, to build and create this business. And they did it because both Marcia and Jim they were in the mortgage industry, they were in business, but they saw a big need to give back to their community by way of helping us and people of color around the country to move up the financial ladder through homeownership. And so today, 25 years later, we have HomeFree-USA, and we have been doing work in the community, building homeownership amongst people of color nationwide. We have over 50 affiliated agencies, so it's a blessing to work with them. We also have just a 0% foreclosure record amongst those we prepare for homeownership, and not to mention we have a 96% approval rating. And so we're going to talk more about how each of you all in this line can move from renting to owning, but I do want to give a shout out and a warm introduction to our founder and our leader, Marcia Griffin, who really, through her vision and that of her husband, came together 25 years ago to create HomeFree-USA. So Marcia Griffin, welcome. Thank you for all that you do. Go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you so much, and welcome to everyone on the line. I'm not sure what's happening with the lighting on my backdrop here. It looks kind of strange to me, but anyway, guys, look, you know, this today is not so much about me. In fact, it's not about me at all. It's important that we bring to you leaders who are doing exceptional things, not only in their community, but, you know, just around the country. And that is Reverend DeForest Soares. He is not only a friend, but he is a community leader. He's a community activist. He is a pastor. He has created a program called Be Free, and the whole idea is to move you out of debt. And we all can agree with this. Reverend Soares is just an honorable brother and leader and friend to all communities. And so with this title of Rising Rents and Home Ownership, I wanted to bring to you not only a person who could provide you the information, but also the inspiration that will get you to move forward. So with that in mind, Reverend Soares, I just want to welcome you, say thank you, and look, I want to turn it over to you. You tell us your story. How did you sort of get to where you are? Not from a religious sense, but from an economic sense, why this subject of homeownership and debt is so important, particularly to the Black community.
Thank you, Marcia, and thank you for what you do. Thank you and Jim for HomeFree-USA, to Simone and Milan, the whole family. You've just been a mighty force focusing on the wealth of African Americans. You know, we're in a season of protest, and I believe in protest. I got my start protesting. Protest is designed to bring attention to problems that otherwise would be ignored, or to force people to take more seriously the problems they knew about but didn't know anything about. And certainly in response to the injustices that we have experienced at the hands of police, certainly having seen live and on Living Color the brutal murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, it is appropriate that people in general, young people in particular, have risen up, have protested, are demanding change. I've been advising the young people. I've been donating money to various local causes where young people are protesting, but I have urged them to understand protest as the beginning, that there has to be a follow-up to protest. There has to be a solution There has to be a therefore. And it's always true that solutions for human situations involve both public policy and personal pursuits. And what I love about you is that you and Jim and HomeFree have been advocates of good public policy. In fact, that's how I met Jim. We were at a forum in Washington where we were talking at the beginning of the mortgage crisis back in 2008 about policies the government should have in place to protect homeowners. And Jim was on one side of the room and I was on the other side of the room. And we were only Black people, I think, in the room.
That's right.
We connected, but that was an instance we were there to advocate for public policy. But public policy alone will not close the gaps that exist between African Americans and the larger society. Public policy alone is not going to increase Black home ownership, which is what you're involved in. And public policy is not going to fix for us those things we have to fix for ourselves. So I am an absolute fan and supporter of HomeFree-USA. We've been doing D-Free. The D-Free stands for no debt, delinquencies, and deficits. And we'll talk more about that. But I've been doing that for 15 years. So I'm 10 years behind you. And my goal is to be in 10 years where you are in 25 years, because you are a real standard bearer for organizational excellence. Excellence basically means that you measure your success by outcomes and not by effort. You know, a lot of nonprofits want to be paid just to be busy, but you are focused on tangible results. And that video showed it, that one family at a time, you are helping people not only become first-time home buyers, but also to protect the homes that they bought. So I am your cheerleader, I'm your fan, and anytime I get a chance to hang out with you, I'm going to do it. Now, you want my story. And you know, when you said not from a religious standpoint, but a part of my problem was that I was separating religion from finance. And a lot of good church-going people don't understand the relationship between their religion, their religious belief in God, and their financial outcomes. And I'm not talking about tithing. I'm not talking about money for the church. I'm talking about understanding my relationship with God having an inextricable link with my relationship with my money. And it was really that understanding that helped me climb out of the lifestyle that I was in. So I'll describe my lifestyle. I got my first credit card at 19. And for 12 years thereafter, I lived on credit cards as though they were income. And I was paying credit cards with credit cards. I was paying last month's bill with next week's check. You know, I was making $25,000 a year, but I had a $5,000 credit limit. And so I lived like I made $30,000. And what happened to me was that I had been living really in hypocrisy. I was an activist. I was on television, in the newspaper, working in civil rights, but I was broke. I had no savings, no insurance. And I was so foolish in my thinking that I didn't even want to own a home. And the reason I didn't want to own a home was because when I was a child, my dad used to make me cut the grass and rake the leaves. And I said, if I ever grow up, I'll never cut grass and rake leaves in my life. So I didn't see home ownership from the perspective of developing wealth. I saw home ownership as responsibility, and I didn't want that.
Yeah.
Until, and I lived that way until I was 12 years into this credit card lifestyle. And what happened was my father's mother died. And when my father's mother died, she was 80 years old, Black woman, 6 children, husband who was a stroke victim. And she had a 6th grade education. Her only skill was sewing people's clothes, and she sewed for a living. But when she died, she had 3 houses paid for. And one of those houses, she literally left for me and my uncle. And so I owned 50% of a house that had no debt. And I said to myself at her grave that if my Black grandmother could die and leave 3 houses paid for, shame on me if when I die with all of my degrees and all of my work, if when I die, all I have to leave behind is credit card bills. And I decided at my grandmother's grave that I was going to study and learn how she did that. You know, how could a Black woman with no civil rights, no congressional Black caucus, you know, no education, how could she attain wealth. One house was a 20-acre old hotel in upstate New York. The other house was a brownstone in Brooklyn. And the other house was a 4-family house, which is what she left me. So I decided to really study her. I decided to read books. I decided to reread the Bible and see what the Bible had to say to instruct me. And it took me a couple of years, but I got out of debt. I had savings. I owned real estate. And now I'm in a position to teach other people the same strategy.
Well, that's a great story. That is an unbelievable story. So, Reverend Soros, from where you are today, let's talk about the economic homeownership financial plight that you see too many people in, whether they're Black, white, or whatever. I mean, what do you see as our greatest problem? You were able to overcome your situation, and look at you now. What do people need to understand and realize today that perhaps many people don't know?
Yeah, I think the first thing, Marcia, is that homeownership is not only a place to live in a nice neighborhood, but homeownership is a wealth building strategy. And that's what I love about your instruction, because you explain to people that when you pay your rent, all you get is a place to live. But when you pay your mortgage, a certain percentage of that mortgage goes to what we call equity in a house. And the longer you stay, the more equity you have. And the more equity you have, the more wealth you have created. The wealth gap between Blacks and whites is in large measure due to the fact that we don't have equity. And sometimes it's easier to develop equity in a house than it is to save money on the side, because you have to pay to live. You have to pay rent or you have to pay mortgage. And you know, we developed right across the street from our church. You've seen it. We developed a condominium community, and we sold 2- and 3-family homes to low and moderate income people. And Marcia, people on Section 8 were paying $1,800 a month to rent a 3-family home. And we sold them an identical 3-family home, and their mortgage, their interest, and their taxes combined was $800 a month. So we cut their living expense by more than half, and they are able to build equity, meaning ownership of that house. And if they stay there long enough, they'll live there for free, or they'll leave the house to their children. So the first thing I think we have to understand is that owning a home is a wealth building strategy and not just a nice place to live. Second thing we have to understand, which you teach people, is that to own a home, we have to understand the need to minimize our debt, that our debt compared to our income is going to be a factor when banks look at us to decide whether or not we're good risk to lend money to. And that's why in Deed-Free, we start with debt, reducing debt, living without debt, paying as you go. And in my books and in our teaching, we describe this as a spiritual problem. Most of our debt, unlike our mortgage, but our debt for flat screen TVs, our debt for BMWs, most of our debt is driven by our inability to wait until we can pay cash. And if we could wait, if we had more patience, and that's a spiritual issue, then we could literally live on cash and only charge it when we need to for strategic purposes. So the second thing we need to understand is the need to minimize our debt if we're going to become homeowners. And then I think the third thing we should understand is that if we're going to be homeowners, it is going to take work. You know, you can't just buy a house and not fix it up and not, you know, take care of the grass. It has to look nice. But when we sell the house, for whatever reason, we'll be able to cash in on all of the equity. My sons, as you know, are twins, and I had a savings account. I had to help them go to college. And because I'm right near Rutgers University, and we've got all these great state schools in New Jersey, my plan was based on the tuition, room and board at a state college. Well, the first thing they decided was to go to private colleges. So now they needed twice as much money as I had saved. But I had equity in my house, and I was able to use the equity in my house plus some of the cash value of an insurance policy to send them to college, pay the bill, and they graduated debt-free.
That is fantastic. And look, you know, just Reverend Soares, I want you to sort of give people you know, just some of your thoughts from an informal way. And this is an informal conversation for all of our listeners. We have many of our HBCU students, what we call our Center for Financial Advancement Scholars. We have homeowners, home buyers, homeowners, of course, our staff. We all know you. We've got many of our affiliates. But, you know, just being real, and I want you to finish this sentence. The problem that I see in Black America is?
We want to work for money instead of having money work for us.
Mm-hmm.
That our philosophy is to get a job, to make money, to spend it. And then our spending strategies have more to do with our feelings and our emotions than our strategies and our futures. In Black America, we don't have a financial strategy. So if a white cop kills a black guy, we know what to do. We don't need lessons in marching. We make signs. We know exactly what to do. And we've had 400 years of practice, so we should know what to do. When someone that we like is running for office, we know how to register to vote. We know how to organize campaigns. We know how to get out to vote on election day. So we have political strategies. When someone puts up a Confederate flag in government or in private America, in private sector, we know how to protest. We know how to politic. But when someone puts a $600 check in the mail and sends it to us and calls it stimulus, we have no strategy. So our relationship with money revolves around spending, and spending money on things that make us look good and things that make us feel good, as opposed to spending money or investing money in our future. And that's a challenge. And that's something public policy won't change. It's in the culture. You know, next year, Marcia, everyone now is talking about Tulsa because next year is the 100th anniversary of the racial hatred that caused white people to burn down Black Wall Street. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921, there's 600 Black businesses, Black restaurants, Black hotel, 6 Black men owned their own private planes in 1921. And
amazing.
when I go to Tulsa next year, you know, I know what the white people did. We know what racism does. What I want to know is, how did these recently freed slaves go to Oklahoma from Mississippi, Alabama, because that's where they were from, and build so much wealth that they called it Black Wall Street? You see, it's not so much for me what the white people did to us, it's what the Black people did between 1865 and 1921 to create that much wealth. Because if they could do it then, we can do it now. And ownership was a part of the culture in Tulsa, Oklahoma, leading up to 1921. So that's what, you know, that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused not only on protesting the evils of society, but actually strategizing to take advantage of the opportunities that we have.
And so do you think ownership in the Black community is significant now? Or are we just kind of working, you know, to get a paycheck and calling it a day and chilling at the end of the day? What do you think is the perspective, and has it changed?
Well, it's not significant now. 72% of whites own their own homes, 46% of Blacks. Now, understand, we have barriers. You know, the FHA discriminated against Black people. The VA discriminated against Black people. Redlining was a problem where we couldn't access capital. I mean, we've had our share of barriers, which means that some of that data, some of the statistics, a lot of the disparities are attributable to historic systemic racism. That's a fact. But it's also a fact that when white people were at their worst, we seem to have been at their best. Our families stayed together. Our businesses thrived more. We had more banks, more insurance companies, and we own more homes. And so I think our culture, again, our culture has got to celebrate the victories that we have despite the challenges, And we've got to educate young people about ownership and not just buying. We will spend more money on a pair of sneakers, even today. We're still buying Michael Jordan sneakers, and Michael Jordan doesn't even play basketball anymore.
Yeah.
LeBron James. And so we've got to train our children that saving is spiritual and that owning is a priority. That's what we have to own. Tyler Perry is able to make any movie he wants because he owns his own studio. So that's what we have to start with homes and build out to businesses and organizations. We must own, and we must take advantage of the $1.5 trillion that we will spend this year.
So first of all, let me just say to our audience of people, and we have a lot of people on the call, guys, don't hesitate, go to the chat box, send your question in. Milan is going to come in just a little bit and ask Reverend Soros and or me some questions that you have. As you talk about owning, you are not only a pastor, but you are also very much of an entrepreneur. I must say this to everyone. Jim and I were in New York. We were in New York a couple of months ago, and look, I never go to these fast food restaurants, but I was so hungry leaving out of New York because I had to get back to DC for a speaking engagement. So we stopped at this Burger King. And the sad thing is when you don't eat that stuff that often, my God, that stuff tastes so good. I got a burger from Burger King, sat in the car and looked up at this building, this huge senior citizen building, said, DeForest Soros, I think it was senior citizen something. I said, my God, here is Buster sitting in front of us. I mean, it was just so ironic that we just stopped in that place and I looked up and saw Reverend Soros' name. So as an entrepreneur, and I'm telling you, Pastor Soros has done a phenomenal job of building Somerset, New Jersey, and that area around. Talk about for a minute, because a lot of our people are interested in entrepreneurship. Reverend, they want to own, but either we've got the financial issues, we've got the confidence issues, and just being stuck issues. If there were three things that a person needs to do to be an entrepreneur like yourself, what are those things?
Number one, find somebody who is already doing what you want to do and spend time with them and dissect them and let them teach you everything they've done. What I did when I came to the church, Marcia, in 1990, my church members had never thought about the church developing housing and the church redeveloping the neighborhood. And so what I did was I chartered a bus and I put my church leaders on a bus and I took them to New York to visit with Reverend Congressman Floyd Flake, because he was someone whose church was doing exactly the kind of work I felt our church should do and all churches should do. I took them to Philadelphia to see the Greater Exodus Church. I took them to Newark to see a white Catholic priest who, after the riot, stayed in Newark and decided that he and his black members were going to stay right there and build housing. So I think the first thing you want to do is find somebody who is already doing either exactly what you want to do or something similar to what you want to do, and stick as close to them as you possibly can. That's thing number one. Thing number two, you have to develop a plan. We have dreams and we have hashtags, but you need a plan and a business plan. You can Google a sample business plan and look at the elements of a business plan. A business plan asks you to answer questions about your timing, about your product, about your competition. Who else is doing what you do, where you want to do it? So every entrepreneur needs a business plan. And you don't have to go to graduate school and get a master's degree in business. Just answer the basic questions about your business to ensure that you're not busy but not making money. And then the third thing you want to do is to separate your business from your emotions, because you're in business to make money. When I say to all of my mentees and what I've said about my own business, you should start a business or buy a business and run the business based on the expectation that one day you'll sell the business. And if you do that, when you sell a business, you have to prove that your income is what it is and your expenses are what they are. When you sell a business, you want to make a profit. I've seen people hold on to their businesses so long that they killed their own business and ended up broke. So it's three things. One, find someone who can mentor you and teach you. Two, develop your plan, and you can use other people's plans as a template. And three, run your business as if you're preparing to sell your business.
Great. Now, we've gone way off topic here. We're dealing with a whole bunch of other things. We probably need to set up another.
Here comes the boss.
Well,
here comes the boss. That's why the boss is on.
Look, I had to start my video again because you two were getting your zone. So I wanted to just give an opportunity. Reverend Suarez, you have really dropped a lot of jewels here. I was taking notes as you were talking. I have a couple quotables from you. So we're going to open it up for questions. And then, okay. Marcia, this is an opportunity for you as well. Questions for Marcia, questions for Reverend Suarez, please hit the chat. And we did have one question that came in, a couple questions that have come in, but just the first one from Jamie. Reverend Suarez, do you recommend that all debt be paid off before buying a home, or could it be done side by side? The main debt that she has left is her car and student loans.
Yeah, it depends. And this is a great question because it gives me a chance to say the most important thing about personal finance. You must have a personal financial plan. Just like I said about businesses not starting before you have a business plan, you have to have a personal financial plan because no two people are exactly alike. Depends on your age, depends on your goals, depends on your emergency savings, it depends on how many children you have. And so what I encourage people to do is to sit with a qualified, certified financial professional, not your beautician, not your barber. We get most of our information from the beauty shop, and we listen in on other people's conversations. Now, listen, I had surgery 10 years ago, and thank God I'm cancer free now, but my surgeon was licensed to practice medicine. I wouldn't let somebody operate on my body just because he liked surgery. And likewise, I don't allow people to give me financial advice because they like money. There are licenses that people get, and they're certified to help us develop our plans. So what you do is you get with a certified financial planner or financial professional, and they will sit down with you and ask you a series of questions, what your goals are, how your health is. There are all kinds of things. And then what happens is you take all of your debt, your student loan debt, your car loan debt. Sometimes it's better to buy a house if your debt is low enough first and then pay off your debt. But it depends. And anyone who claims to be able to give you an answer without knowing all of the information, don't trust them because they don't know enough about you. They don't know enough about you to give you the suggestions. Marcia, one of the things that happened when you did my webinar was you gave us an opportunity to send people to you for free mortgage assessment. And see, a mortgage assessment is important because a lot of people just run out there and apply for a mortgage, but they haven't done a comprehensive assessment of their reality. And that's just another way of saying a financial plan. You need a plan. We need plans. That's why, we march and we sing and we cuss and we talk about what we ought to be and what we could do, and we die broke because we don't turn our dreams into plans. So Jamie, it depends. Get a financial professional, and put it all on the table, and then let your plan answer your question.
Yeah.
And and that's such great advice, Reverend Suarez, because at HomeFree-USA we see that a lot. Everybody's talking to their brother, sister, mother, cousin. And the reality is you got to really talk to people who are more successful than you in the area that you're trying to grow in. And so to your point, HomeFree-USA has certified home ownership advisors who are trained and certified through rigorous testing by the federal government. And we are offering free mortgage assessments. So everyone, no obligation, can call us, and I'll give our information in just a moment. So you can really take the first step to say hello to homeownership, bye to your landlord, bye to rising rent. But that's a great point, Reverend Soares, about really getting professional advice. Marcia, a question for you. You are working heavily in the mortgage industry with top mortgage executives. And kind of going back to Reverend Soares' point, when people, especially Black and brown folks, when we kind of take the first step and we are excited to approach home ownership, many are getting denied. And so talk to us a little bit, Marcia, about what you're seeing related to mortgage denials in the Black community and in people, amongst people of color in general. And then how would you suggest we as a community and individuals go about achieving more approvals than denials?
You know, that's a very interesting topic, and one that I just got off the phone just this morning with the Mortgage Bankers Association on. The impact of denials has a psychological impact on us. It has a financial impact, and Reverend Soares, you can sort of tag team on this too. The bottom line, guys, is that if a lender loans you $200,000 on a house, they're going to look at everything almost to the point of your mother to figure out if you can pay that loan back. That is A-L-O-A-N. It is not a G-I-F-T. Right. They're going to look at everything, and they look at the credit report, as Reverend Soares mentioned. They look at the debt, because their point is, if you have borrowed money from Reverend Soares and haven't paid him back, what are the chances of you paying me back? And so what happens too often, you've got a financial situation here, you're talking to Baby and all their friends about buying a house and all of that. You jump in there with a realtor, and we love realtors. Realtors are great, but really a person should go to a realtor and a lender when you have your credit score in place, when your credit is in place, when your credit report is in place, because this is what they're going to look at. This is what a lender is looking at. So too often we kind of jump out there, decide, oh, I got to buy me a house, and without the expertise, if you will, and most of us just don't have it. I mean, we're only good in certain things. And so we have to be, as a people, as an audience here, we have to be cognizant of our own responsibilities to make sure that we've got the education and the information and have our stuff straight before we jump out there to a lender, because they are going to look at, they're going to cross every T and dot every I to determine what's the probability of you paying that loan back. Now, some of the issues we feel are unfair, unjust, and unneeded. And we're fighting for those things right now. But at the end of the day, guys, let this time in place with the social unrest. We've got a health unrest, we've got a social unrest, but we have a major economic unrest that has to be cured. And we need to work together. We have got to start with ourselves and look at where we are and where we're going. Reverend Soares, I fully agree with that plan. The denials, and I think Milan will have a whole session on that and how to prevent that. But I can tell you, it starts with your finances, but it also starts with one's attitude, because there are a lot of folks here who are on the phone now who could probably buy tomorrow, but they're just stuck. And they just don't know. They don't know who to trust and what to do. So I want to have Reverend Soares add just a little bit to that, because that's an excellent question, Milan.
No, you're right. You see, we have to separate business, again, from emotions, because if I'm denied a loan, I've not been rejected as a person. It's my finances that have been rejected. And there are any number of reasons a bank could deny us a loan. And what you don't want to do is to take it so personally that you feel emotionally wounded. The reality is, most people in business have been told no more times than they've been told yes. But to Marcia's point, a loan is a loan, not a gift, which means that if you are denied, it shouldn't affect you emotionally. But if you are approved, you shouldn't act like they've done you a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Banks don't approve loans as favors. Bank approves loans because, to Marcia's point, they believe you will pay them back. A loan is not a gift, and a denial, is not a denial of a gift. So I just think we have to be more strategic and less emotional about money and about ownership and borrowing, so that we can stay focused on the goal and not on the process, not just on the process.
And Gwen, she had a great question, because with the whole psychology of being denied or being approved, we are seeking always approval. And so the question here is, many of us are going to subprime lenders for easy approval. These folks that are saying no credit, good credit, whatever the case is. So talk to us a little bit, Reverend Torres, about quick approvals and the problem with that, and why it's so important to just be prepared for the right type of loan.
Yeah, I think we do it with cars more than we do it with anything. We'll go to a car dealership and the sign will say same day approval, and we'll see the car we want, and we'll never ask the question, what is the interest rate? And the salesman will never tell us voluntarily the interest rate. What we look at and hear is the monthly payment. So we had a doctor in our church who was paying $800 a month to buy a car, and his interest rate was 28%, and his credit score was in the 700s. And because we have our own credit union, we refinanced his car at about a 4% interest rate, and he saved $400 a month on the same car, to drive the same car. So I think we've got to ask the right questions, and we have to be careful, because the quicker the approval, more likely than not, the more expensive the money.
Good point.
I love that. The quicker the approval, the more expensive the money. Somebody write that down.
Right.
Okay, let's tweet that. Let's retweet that. Okay, write that down. You know what? You're a jewel dropper. You are definitely a jewel dropper, Reverend Torres. And so another question with that came in, Reverend Torres, is, so often, and Marcia, please weigh in. So often, Black folks have heard more no's than we have yeses across the board. So there is a psychology that many have seen of we can't do it. So talk to us about why we actually can approach wealth building assets and strategies like homeownership, kind of help us to defeat that mindset.
Well, first of all, I learned this in junior high school, because when I was in junior high school, I could not find a girlfriend. And every girl that I wanted to be my girlfriend had no interest in me at all. And I had to develop an understanding that it was their loss and not mine. Anytime a girl rejected me, I was like, she don't know what she's missing. And I do the same thing in business. If a bank does not want to do business with me, then my assumption is they've lost a great customer. And it's the way we perceive reality. If we know who we are, we know what we plan to do, we know what we bring to the table, then someone will see our value. Now, if everybody sees your value, then you may not have much value. So the more special you are, the more likely it is that the people who see your value will be small in number. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was told no dozens of times before she got her own TV show. So every no is just one step closer to getting to your yes.
Absolutely. And let me just sort of add to that by saying, as Reverend Torres said, look, anytime you have gotten to a point where, first of all, people who other people view as successful, they don't view themselves as successful, because, you're always shooting for the stars. You're always wanting to do better. And, you know, as I told our group of HBCU CFA scholars the other day, even for us in HomeFree-USA, with all of these banks that we're working with now, let me tell you, they closed the door 25 years ago. They closed the door in our faces. They asked us, Jim and I, why did we think they should even consider working with us? They could reach the Black community better than we. Our job was to create a win-win, so the community wins for a mortgage loan and they would win. Guys, it was just terrible how we were treated at that time. But you know one thing, at some point, you may have to just tuck your tail between your legs and keep it moving. And really, and many of those people who turn their back on us now, oh, they are raving partners. And we are here to show them what we can do. So I know we're coming close to the end, Milan. Reverend Sarge, you want to say something?
And we have one more question that came in, and I think this would be a good question to wrap up on. Many people think they can, you know, so you have people that think they can't. And so, you know, you got to be persistent, resilient, be prepared and get those yeses, as you all mentioned. But for those that think they can, many have family around them who are really weighing them down and make it harder to move up the economic ladder. So we had a great question to come in. What piece of advice would you give to those who have dependents or people around them, not even just the families and everything else, who are kind of weighing them down and holding them back?
Yeah, well, see, the Bible always helps because, you know, in the Bible, there's a story about a guy named Joseph whose brothers hated him and sold him into slavery, you see. Now, what Joseph's mistake was, he told his brothers his dream. I don't tell my family my dreams. I don't tell my family how much money I make. Because I've got family members who believe that my success is somehow contributing to their failure. Mm-hmm. So you have to be selective, even in your family, of who you share your dreams with and who you share your success with and what your strategy is. Because some family members aren't mature enough to embrace your dream. And frankly, in every family I've seen, you got some haters. So that's number one. And the same thing with friends. You have to leave some friends behind. You know, I've got some friends that enjoy being broke. So I see them every 2 or 3 years and wave at them and move on. Listen, Marcia and Milan, I wrote a whole book on this, and I've got a whole chapter in my book. The book is called Say Yes When Life Says No. It's on Amazon. You can download it right now. Say Yes When Life Says No. And in the book, there's a whole chapter on you know, it says new levels, new devils. That every level you get to, you're going to find new devils. You got family devils, you got community devils, and I can say this as a pastor, you got some church devils. I don't tell my church all of my dreams. So you just have to accept the fact that if you're going to another level, you've got to believe that God has given you the talent and the drive and will send you the resources and connect you with the right people. And often it's not family.
That is such a wise piece.
He's a wise man. He is just a wise man. I'm telling you.
Old. Yeah, it's really called old.
but you know, there's just so much to be said for wisdom and with just being a down-to-earth, just a real authentic person. And Buster, what is the name of your book? Tell everyone so they could kind of go to Amazon.
All right, Shakira, write this in the chat room. It's Say Yes When Life Says No. And Milan, you'll love this because there's a book, and it talks about not what Jesus did to heal the blind man, but what the blind man did to help the blind man while he was still blind, right? But there's a workbook attached to it, Marcia, and the workbook is a 31-day strategy to restructure your whole life. Goals, budget, every 31 days, and the workbook is separate from the book, and it's Say Yes When Life Says No, the workbook, and it's a 31-day plan And I promise you that it's a 31-day proven strategy to help you restructure the next 5 years of your life.
So, Buster,
Wow.
one question from you. Milan, I got to ask you. So what happened to Joseph? I mean, did he failed because he told everyone his dreams, right?
Yeah. Joseph told his brothers his dream, which included his brothers. And his dream was that he would be the leader and they would be the followers. His brothers got so mad, they were going to kill him. And the only reason they didn't kill him was because they knew it would break their father's heart. So they beat him up and put him in a ditch and sold him into slavery. He got to Egypt and got a good job in Egypt and ended up being the prime minister of Egypt.
Well, that's going to be us. All of us on the phone. We're going to be the next Joseph. Right. Thank you, Reverend Soares. You've done a great job. Milan, we're going to turn it back over to you. Let's give Reverend Soares a hand, everybody. Such a great job. Really, he's just
so thank you
person.
so much. And thank you so much, Reverend Soares. And Reverend Soares, as our featured speaker, in 1 minute or less, give us a last piece of advice. Why is now the right time to move from renting to owning? So leave us with an inspirational message based on the topic at hand.
Yeah, one sentence. Now is the right time, because the only thing worse than not having what you need is not using what you have. We don't have full justice. We don't have respect from all white people. We don't have a lot of sympathy coming from the White House, but we have HomeFree-USA. And if you want a free mortgage assessment, if you want someone to hold your hand from renting to ownership, we have HomeFree-USA. So turn off CNN, turn off Fox TV, and contact HomeFree-USA and say, take me to the next level. We have that.
You're so great. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And, I will say, Reverend Soares, again, I have more quotables from you than a little bit from this, but just a reminder for everybody on the line, just like Reverend Soares said, when you are looking up, and everybody joined today's session for a reason, it is time to say bye to your landlord. Every time you pay that rent, you are throwing money away. And as Reverend Soares said, our honored featured speaker today, there are a lot of things we don't have, but there are a whole lot of things we do have. So we want to be in a position of taking what we have, strategizing, moving to the next level, moving up the financial ladder, but we can't do it alone. So with HomeFree-USA, we're here to work with you. The longer you stay, the more you pay. Rents can rise from 2 to 10% every year. But with a fixed rate mortgage, that mortgage could be fixed for 15, 20, 30, even 40 years. And so you want to avoid this system of rising rent. You want to avoid the pattern of just trying to kind of keep up with your finances. It's time to act. It is time to move, and it's time to strategize. And the greatest thing about this is you have a group that can do it with you and for you and help you to move to the next level. Shani is a HomeFree member of HomeFree-USA. She bought her home last year, and she was saying every year the rent goes up, the services go down, and you're still in the same spot. So we are going to move forward together. We are working together, and before we invite you all to our free mortgage assessment, this is an opportunity, again, for you to move step by step through the home buying process. This is an opportunity for you to get a plan, to strategize, to move, to get prepared so you are not overwhelmed. Shakira, why don't we go ahead and launch the poll? So before we invite you all to the free mortgage assessment, we're going to wrap up. Let's go ahead and launch our poll. One, we want to see how this session was, but two, we want to see if you're even interested in the free mortgage assessment. So Shakira, why don't you go ahead and launch the closing polls for us? How would you rate this session? Do you want to have this again? Do you never want to have it again? And Marcia and Reverend Soares, I appreciate you having you all. You all could get off camera for the moment. We're gonna wrap up, but I appreciate you all. Just you all can get off camera for the moment. Okay.
Well, let's say thank you to Reverend Soares again. Thank you,
Reverend Soares. We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Just
All
kick us
right.
off. Just kick us off.
Thank you.
You know what I mean,
So
Marcia?
how would you, don't leave though, don't leave. I'm gonna get you all back on a second. Don't leave. Okay, so how would you rate this session? Very informative, somewhat informative, not informative. Very informative, somewhat informative, not informative. We're gonna just give you all one more minute to get this poll done, because we wanna hear from you. We wanna know whether this session was good, whether you want it again. Shakira, let's go to the next poll. And so as we wrap up, again, everyone, as we wrap up, this is your time to move from renting to owning. Shakira, let's go ahead and put up the next poll. You know, when we are looking to make a step in life, it is hard to do it on your own. As Ramsora said, as Marcia said, we need expert advisors to really move us from point A to point B. And so how would you like to schedule a free mortgage assessment? Let us know, yes, no, I'm not sure. Or if you have a realtor, if you're a realtor loan officer on the line, I have a client who could benefit from this opportunity. Just go ahead and tell us whether you want to move forward. Again, it's a free consultation. This is an opportunity for you to speak with our certified homeownership advisors at HomeFree-USA, so you can get your questions answered, so you can just get some preliminary information so you can move forward in confidence. And hopefully, after the free consultation, you will not only feel empowered with steps to move forward, but you will feel more comfortable in working with HomeFree-USA so we can get you from point A to point B. So would you like to schedule a free mortgage assessment? Yes, no, not sure. Or if you're a realtor, do you have a client who would benefit from this opportunity? Again, we appreciate you all. You can close that out. You can close that out, Shakira. All right. And I appreciate you all for voting. And again, hopefully we have, as we close out, and I'm going to give you all the information for the free mortgage assessment. I didn't mean to scoot you off camera so fast. So Reverend Flores, come back on camera. Let me just give you a formal thank you for joining us. A formal thank you to Reverend Flores for joining us. We appreciate you. You are a family member of HomeFree-USA. You're like our first cousin now, okay? So we appreciate having you. We really appreciate having you, and we look forward to having you again. And so go about your day in peace. And then everybody has the link to access his D-Free workbook. Reverend Flores has been on the scene. He doesn't look it, but he's been on the scene for a while doing good work. So we put his book in the chat. Go ahead and take a step, take a link. Click on the link. And for everybody on the line, as we close up, in addition to looking at Reverend Flores' book, we want to be in a position where you can, again, take advantage of the opportunity to move forward today with your free mortgage assessment. So your time is now. Everybody, again, there is a lot of curriculums that are out there, a lot of resources that you can look to, and that is very important, like D-Free. It is very important to advance and grow your knowledge, read, study, how to move up to the next level. But if you need a helping hand and you want some one-on-one guidance, call us, write us, send us a telegram. I don't even know what that is anymore. But go ahead and email us, HomeFree-USA@HomeFree-USA.org. We have 10 slots that are available. This is an opportunity to just extend the conversation. Maybe you have questions that weren't able to be answered on the call today. Maybe you want to just see whether you can buy in 12 months, or you think you can't, but you want to get a roadmap forward. Your time is now. Schedule a free mortgage assessment today before 6 p.m. We only have 10 slots, and don't wait. You can also call us at 855-493-4002. That's 855-493-4002. I'm going to say it one more time, 855-493-4002. Feel free to email us as well, HomeFree-USA@HomeFree-USA.org. It is always a pleasure to have you all, and we have another session coming next week, June 30th, about how to make extra income from your home. So I will see you virtually next week here on our webinar series. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and make sure you schedule your free mortgage assessment today before 6 p.m. All the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.